I'm Mancha Daswani. Welcome back to the Screen MDM Talks podcast. I am here with my old friend James Ross from Lightning International to talk about fast and content distribution trends in Asia Pac and everything else. Hi, James.
Hi, Mancha. Less of the old, more of the friend, I think. I'm really pleased to be on Scream MDM, the fantastic new enterprise that you've put together. So, look, great
Thank
to
you.
be here.
Good stuff. So I know you will be talking about fast at Asia TV Forum. So I wanted to pick your brain a little bit on what is happening in that space in Asia. We've talked fast before, but often from a sort of European global perspective. And I'm curious about how you see the landscape in Asia. It seems a little bit further along than further behind than other markets, but I'm just curious what your overall perspective is on fast channels in Asia right now.
Definitely still behind Europe, and of course Europe is still behind the US, but growing quite well now. I mean, it is still early days, so I think we're not seeing the level of revenues flow through that, of course, we'd like to see yet, but it is starting. And
Yeah.
I think certainly the big connected TV services are starting to roll out services across the region in various territories. So your Samsungs, your LGs, and so on, and of course some of the other brands like TCL and so on are
Yeah.
available. And then of course we're also seeing fast platforms from the broadcasters such as MediaCorp or TVB in Hong Kong, and of course Australia is well advanced with fast as well. So I'm optimistic about fast, but we're not there yet. There's quite a way to go. But the reason
Yeah.
I'm optimistic is folks across much of Asia like free stuff. And that's super important because that is what fast is. It's
Yeah.
great content that viewers don't have to pay for. And in return, they watch the advertising and hopefully everyone's happy.
Yeah, hopefully. Now, the last time we talked about AI and language dubbing and subtitling, and I want to hear about your journey on that front because it's a lot of tech, and the importance of making sure that every service is localized as you look to sort of deepen the penetration of these services across Asia Pac.
Yeah, of course. Look, it's super important, and I mean the best kind of local content is the content that is generated in original language in that country. And of course, we're working very hard to make sure that we bring together fast channels that have that original content in the original language. So that's number one thing to remember. So we're not focusing only on channels that are in English, but we're looking at channels in Chinese, in Filipino, in Thai, in Japanese across the region and others. But of course,
Yeah.
if the channel is not available in the language of the country to which we're trying to broadcast, then yes, the tools that are now available through AI are super important. And
Yeah.
we've been subtitling, doing live subtitling with AI on a number of our channels now, and rolling out. For instance, we're doing Japanese, we're doing subtitling in Chinese, in Thai, in multiple different languages, and
Yeah.
I mean, of course, we do it in tandem with the way that the platforms are growing, the way that the revenues are growing, because of course, even though it's AI, there's still a cost to it, and
Yeah.
it's still a fairly complex arrangement to make it happen. But the good news is it works well, and
Yeah.
we're getting good results back. For example, we have our News World channel, which is broadcasters from all over the world. Primarily broadcasting in English, but of course the content is relevant to everybody across the region because
Sure.
you get a different perspective on the news from different places. And of course, doing the live subtitling in Asian languages such as Japanese, super important.
Sure, absolutely. Now I know obviously a lot of people would be hitting you up to represent them to distribute their channels in Asia, given your knowledge of the market, and how long you've been doing it for. And I'm curious, when people are pitching you, what are some of the things that you have to assess as you think I can take this brand on and make something of it in this part of the world? What are the check boxes for you?
Well, I suppose there's two things really. The suitability of the channel for
Mm,
the audience and the platform, and the suitability for advertisers.
yeah.
Advertisers, of course, need something attractive to put their money next to effectively,
Yep.
and viewers need to see something that's worth watching, and the platforms, of course, reflect that immediately. And I guess the important thing is some kind of brand. Now, that could be an individual program brand, that could be a channel brand, that could be some kind of genre type content branding. But whatever it is, it needs to be really very clear. It says what it
Mm,
is on the tin, and people need
yeah.
to know what they're going to watch. That is the first thing that we
Mm,
really have to think about, because if we can't get people to even tune into the channel because they don't recognize it, we're all wasting our time. So we need
yeah.
some kind of familiar kind of branding. So that's what we work
Yeah.
really hard at, to do as number one thing. But of course, the content is super important after that. And
Yeah.
for a fast channel, it does need to be the kind of content that you can dip in and dip out, which is
Mm,
why news channels work very well, because people dip in, dip out. Music channels work very well for the same reason.
yeah.
We're seeing success with things like quiz shows,
Mm,
long running quiz shows that people can just put on for 20 minutes,
yeah.
answer a few questions and dip out. That sort of thing works well. Some of the things from around the world that have been successful in other parts of the world, they also, of course, work well in Asia. But there are some regulatory
Mm,
stuff that we need to think about. So true crime, of
sure.
course, is one of those things that from around the world that seems to work. People like watching, car chases on motorways at 3 a.m. in the morning, or whatever it is, something like that. I don't know, it captures people's imagination. But there are some
Right.
regulatory issues, of course, in places in Asia that we have to be careful of.
Sure.
I mean, kids content, it gets watched, but the problem is kids content is very difficult to monetize at the moment because there's so many regulations around the advertising that could be presented to kids in different places. And some places have none, but of course, lots of places do have quite a lot of regulation, and that
Yeah.
makes it really difficult. So there's
Right.
lots of different things, but we just
Yeah.
look for really, really good brands and really good content. That's what we're looking for.
Right. No, that makes sense. And I'm just thinking about sort of the fast trajectory. It was led in the US by the AVOD platforms. It was Tubi and Pluto. Now that it's different players within the fast space, and it is the broadcasters and the pay TV platforms that are driving this. I'm just curious if the trajectory will be different in Asia Pac, given that it's very different people who are kind of pioneering it in this part of the world.
Well, I think, having said that about the broadcasters, I think that's partially true. But the reality is we've had to drag some of the broadcasters kicking and screaming into the fast
Right.
world. To be perfectly honest, it's not been an easy pull. They're
Right.
very used to traditional ways of broadcasting, whether it's pay
Yeah.
TV or traditional free to air terrestrial broadcasting, and
Yeah.
some of the technical systems and bureaucratic systems at some of these companies. Forgive me, my partners, but some of you do really have tough systems. Um, so I think it's actually not really them that are pioneering. They're they're
Uh,
they're realizing the opportunity, but the pioneers
yeah.
still really are in the connected TV world. I
That's
think
good.
we're actually going to see some more of the players like Tubi and Pluto
Mm,
working in this part of the world in the future. It may
yeah.
not be Tubi and it may not be Pluto. We have really close
Yeah.
relationships with both Tubi and
Yeah.
Pluto in both the US and Europe, but maybe there are going to be some more players out of Asia that would kind
Yeah.
of do an Asian type offer that is a
Right.
pan-regional offer in multiple languages. I would think there's still some room for that to come. And of course,
Yeah.
there are one or two players in that space. And I
Right.
know that, some of those pan-regional streamer type people are exploring the opportunities in Fast
Yeah.
at the moment.
That makes sense. Now, obviously, Lightning International does a lot more than fast channels. Tell me about the other part of your business, the program distribution side of it. I know that sector has gone through its own sets of challenges over the last few years, as the entire business has. But sort of what's driving your business there? Where are you seeing traction?
Well, you're absolutely right, Mansha. I mean, it's been a tough 5, 6, 7 years for program distribution for
Yeah.
everybody, and that's partly because of things like COVID, which of course kicked everybody, but it's also
Mm.
because of the transition from sort of old style television to the streamers, and how do we
Right.
all align with that? I think that our business has been consistent for a while. It was plateaued, but it has been growing in the last 18 months or so. This year has been a
Mm.
particularly good year actually for kind of traditional type of distribution. But we sell to
Oh,
everybody, and that's
yeah.
the reality. We don't just sell to TV stations anymore. We sell to all kinds of online platforms. We sell to big streamers, small streamers, airlines, frankly, anybody that wants to buy content. And I think we're finding in the distribution business that you have to be super innovative, and
Yeah.
there's no point in just hacking on the same old clients, year in, year out. It doesn't work like
Yeah.
that anymore. You've got to find other ways to get that content out there, and that's really what we're focusing on. Some of those things, and our growth, I think, is coming from being innovative in what we do. And of course, one of the things that
Yeah.
we also do is that we do a lot of crossover between our distribution business and what could be perceived as the channels business, the fast channels business. Just
Mm.
recently we focused on a couple of live events. One in particular was the Grand Sumo tournament from London.
Oh,
We had the distribution rights globally for a 5-day Japanese sumo tournament in an amazing setting in the Royal Albert Hall.
yeah.
And from that, we distributed it as a live event, but we also distributed it as highlights. We distributed it as recordings. We did a pop-up channel on Fast, which is still running on multiple platforms at the moment. And
Yeah.
so, using the content in lots of different innovative ways really, to
Mm.
me, seems the way forward. And we can all
Yeah.
probably do that better. And we, again, my favorite word is be innovative. We have to get out there and try different things. And anything is possible.
Yeah, no, I agree. Looking ahead to 2026, what are you focusing on? I know it feels like for everyone there's not a lot of clarity in the business. I just think there's, uncertainty is looming over a lot of companies right now. But what are your priorities for the year ahead amid these constantly shifting plates that we are on?
I'm not a big fan of the word uncertainty. I'm a big fan of the word opportunity.
Yes.
I think there are now multiple opportunities to do multiple different things, and we just don't need to keep reinventing ourselves. Look, I've been in this business a long time, and the only way of staying in the business is by reinventing and rethinking and doing it in a different way, and
Yeah.
getting out there and going, well, what's happening? How can we integrate with what's happening in the market? What do people want? And that's really how we've taken the business. And Lightning has been going for 14 years now, and in
Yeah.
that time, we've completely changed our business structure and how we do things and who we work with. And
Sure.
somehow we still keep hanging on. That's the goal, isn't it? We're just hanging on, see how long we can last.
Aren't we all, James? Aren't we all? Was there anything else about what's happening in the business now that you wanted to tell me about that we haven't had a chance to cover?
Well, I just think, the opportunities for content now are stronger than ever. Okay, there's a lot of content out there, but as we just said, using that word opportunity, there are lots of great opportunities for new content. So finding fascinating things that make people sit up and take note is one of my goals. Always looking for that fab content, in whatever way
Yeah.
it can do. And obviously, what we're trying to do is we're trying to see, well, what are the opportunities to monetize that content? I mean, one of the problems with content makers, and I love content makers, so this is not negative content, but sometimes people are so focused on the beauty and creation of the content that they forget that they've actually got to have a business side to it to make it work. And finding content that can be monetized so everybody can make something out of it, including the
Yeah.
producer, is super important, and we've all got to focus on that. But I'm optimistic about 2026. Look, I think we're back on a norm after COVID, and the opportunities, particularly in this region, are just growing and growing and growing.
Yeah, 1,000%. Well, James, thank you as always for spending your time with me. This has been a really wonderful chat. Really appreciate your time as always.
You're welcome, Mansha, and good luck with Screen MDM. I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic venture.
I hope so. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Screen MDM Talks podcast hosted by me, Manju Daswani. Kate Roach is our VP of Global Ad Sales and Business Development. Production was done by Anand Patel. Musical score performed and composed by Jahan Raymond.